I want you to know that you're not actually behind. God can accelerate your life and make you surpass even the people that you look at who you think have it all together. The thing that you need to know is God's timing is perfect, and God's timing looks a lot different than your own. So although you may feel like you're years and years and years behind, God might actually be developing you in the season that you're in the moments that you're in to propel you a million years forward. I've seen this happen in my own personal life where I have felt like I was behind. Everyone was going to school, everyone had been graduating from college and doing all of these things, starting their careers and really entering life in a way that looked normal to me and to most people. My path didn't look normal. My path looked like to me, it felt like I was set up for failure. It felt like from my life experiences, the things I experienced in life, I didn't necessarily know the tools in which to navigate my own life. So I was just going through life trying to figure it out. I was trying things. I went to college for a semester because I felt like that was the thing that people are supposed to do. And I remember talking to my mom the first semester, and it was coming to an end, and I said, I don't know why I feel like I need to go try something else. I want to try to go to school and become a nail tech. I want to go to beauty school. And my mom sent me a nail drill while I was on the college campus, and I just started practicing on myself, and I really fell in love with the art of doing nails. And even though back then I couldn't see what God was doing for me now, those were little seeds that were being planted in my garden that God just needed me to water. So all of the years that I started with that initial idea, I eventually dropped out of college. I attended beauty school, and then I dropped out of beauty school because I was actually in a toxic relationship. And you're in a toxic relationship when you're trying to do better for yourself and you're trying to do more for your life and you're trying to do something you haven't seen done before. And this person is just making you feel less than yourself, making you feel down, shooting down your dreams and your visions. I specifically remember, during that time frame being told that I was going to work in a daycare and that I wasn't going to actually be doing nails, and I was going to work with kids. So just give up on the dream because that's not for you. That's not what God has for you. And, the situation that I was in, these people were actually of the church, and they were pastors and first ladies and things like that. And I just remember experiencing such a level of church hurt because I saw how, for the very first time, what it was like living in a home where people claim that they know God or that they are of God, but then treat you and treat others completely opposite. And when I was going through this experience and I was trying to navigate my own life, and I'm thinking about, figuring out my life in general, I felt like I was 1,000,001 years behind. I felt like my relationship was trash. I felt like my relationship with God was just on pause because I was seeing all this stuff happen around me. And then I was scared to come to God because I'm like, is this really how people operate? Is this really how people act? Like, this can't be real. So I started to have a little bit of resentment towards God that I was even in this situation or even experiencing these things. Felt very low about myself. I felt down about myself on top of being in a relationship that made me feel less than myself. I just couldn't see how God was going to ever turn this around for me. And I remember just talking to God and praying on my own personal time and just saying, I want to build a relationship with you. I don't really know how. I just started reading my Bible and just praying. And I remember being in such low seasons. I specifically remember a time where I was sitting in my car and I was like, God, I'm just about to give up. And it would be much better if people didn't even know that I was here, if I didn't exist anymore. If I could just give up right now, everything would be better. I can't even believe that I ever thought like that, and it was so much going on. It was everything. It was the way I felt about myself. It was the way I felt about my life. It's the way I felt about my relationship at the time, and even in the midst of feeling like I was trying to get to know God even more, I still didn't want to give up on the fact that God was real. So I kept going. And then I ended up meeting my significant other shortly after. And, he showed me how to have a personal relationship with God. He showed me that my situation that I was experiencing, God was showing me something during that time frame. And, we would go to church all of the time, and he took me away from the seemingly negative situation and gave me a breath of fresh air. He showed me that even people that have relationships with God can be flawed, but that doesn't mean that that is the ideal design that God had for children of God or people in ministry or things like that. So I had to learn how to have grace for people while they were still treating me some type of way, or while I was experiencing certain things being under that household and things like that. And I don't regret that I learned those experiences. I learned that there's certain things that people will do that will make you feel like you're less than yourself, or certain things people will say to make you feel less than yourself and make you just not feel like you're worthy. I started to feel like I wasn't worthy to be here. I started to feel like I wasn't worthy of having a great relationship until I learned the opposite of that. I'm grateful for the life experiences because they've taught me everything I need to know up until this point. And even going forward, I know that God is still working on me. He's doing the work, because what he says is, I'm never going to leave you in a place for too long. He also says that once he starts a work in you, he's going to finish it. So I just remember being in those situations and feeling like I was 1,000,001 years behind, thinking that my life could never turn around, that there was no way that, I was ever going to figure out what my life was supposed to look like. And I had dropped out of beauty school. So once I, decided to go back and actually finish, then I started to feel like I had something to live for again. I felt like I had some sense of purpose, or it felt right. Like it was so strange, because being in school, I knew that was the way that most people say you should go. Society says you should go. But then to drop out and fall in love with doing nails, I really realized that that felt right for me for whatever reason. And my significant other and I, we fell in love. We ended up moving back to Texas and starting our life here. And after different trials and tribulations and going to different jobs and going through hardships on my jobs and managers talking crazy to me and just going through these different experiences, he actually told me to quit and start doing nails from home. And he was like, start the business. You started doing nails in school. Why don't you start the business now? And I remember like it was fun trying to build a business. I didn't know I was building a business, actually. I was just having fun doing nails, and I was going through the motions of life. But as years started to go by, I still started to feel like I was behind. I started to feel like, what if it doesn't work? And how do I know that this is what God is calling me to do? But even when you have those questions in life and you feel like you're behind and you're questioning, is God asking you to do the things that you're doing? God is going to reveal that to you through the different experiences that will happen. So as the years went on, I actually ended up building a business out of it. I started my own product line, but it came from God shifting my perspective and shifting my direction. COVID happened. Shortly after that, I became pregnant. And then after having our son, I was like, wow, I felt like God was telling me through other people to still do nails, have something to do with nails. And I sat down and talked to my fiance, and we started our product line. And it did amazing. And I had the platform, I had the social media, I had everything. And God, even today, is still directing me and navigating me through that with entrepreneurship. But I say all of that to say, I didn't know any of this was going to come about. And even today, still not knowing fully what God is doing in my life, I can still look at other people and compare myself and say, well, God, what do you really have for me? Like, how is this actually going to work? And what am I really going to be doing for the rest of my life? But I continue to let God reveal that to me. And it's the same thing that you have to do in your own life, where God has been tugging you and shifting you and transitioning you. And maybe you haven't fully acknowledged it yet, but maybe that's why your life feels like it's completely upside down, and it feels like nothing you're doing is working. And it feels like no matter where you turn, this one thing, this one idea, or whatever God is trying to do to remove you or position you, you just keep ignoring, or you keep failing to realize it. I had signs back then. I had situations happen back then that I was not being aware of it. I wasn't acknowledging it, but I had them back then. And even in today, I've made certain life changes because of the things that I've become aware of. And for whatever reason, God is using those moments and those ideas and those thought processes to shift me to where I'm going now. But the biggest thing is you have to be aware of the different things that are happening in your life right now in order for God to use those situations to propel you forward. You have to have faith in these moments to know that God is not going to put me in a place that I don't need to be. He's not going to put me somewhere I don't belong. He's not going to put me, what he has designed for my life is not detrimental to me. It's not something I'm going to hate. It's not something that I don't want to do. Most of the time we just think we're not ready for what God has for us. We think that we're not the person for the job. But the thing is, that's kind of how you know God is calling you to do something. If there's something you think that you should be doing and you don't feel ready for it, you don't feel like you're the person for the job, that's just the devil trying to make you feel discouraged, inadequate, make you feel like there's no way you could be doing that. You, with your life experiences, the things you've been through, you're going to do that? You mean to tell you? Like, it's crazy. That's just how I think. That's how it sounds when I think about it. Like, you really think you can do that? But yes, with God, I can do anything. With God, all things are possible. Like, and that's another thing, like, throughout my journey, and you can even think about for yourself, man, there's going to be times where if you don't stop the negative chatter and the negative thought, it's going to make you feel like you can't possibly do the things that you're thinking about doing. There is no way that you could do the things. You have to stop that, because it's going to leave you stuck and keep you in a place of complacency if you allow it. So what I need you to know is you're exactly where God needs you to be. And the things that are happening around you and the things that are happening to you is all meant to direct you where you need to be. But you have to stop the comparison. Okay? The comparison is a thing that's literally going to steal your joy. It's going to make you feel like you're a million years behind when God is just doing what he's doing for them, but he has something even differently for you. And usually people that feel like they're the most behind in life, they feel like they'll never figure it out, they really don't know what God is calling them to do, are the people that is going to surpass everybody. If you feel like you've been stuck for years, isolated for years, just kept in your own bubble and box for years, maybe you feel like your life hasn't fully progressed the way that you think it should, usually God is going to use those type of people to surpass and accelerate even further and even faster, because he's working on you and he's given you many years, months, this time frame to really work on you. And you have to ask, why is he working on you so much? It's because he has something he needs you to do. Not late, you're being prepared. So many times we look at our situations and we look at our life and we're like, if I don't figure it out by 30, I don't know what I'm going to do. If I don't figure it out by 32, I'm behind. If I don't have my career and if I don't establish something by 35, then I just know it's over. And at 27, I should have this figured out by now. Like, this is how we think of our own timelines. We give time frames for things, but God's timeline is not your time frame. He doesn't need you to tell him by 31, you should have kids, a dog, the American dream, and all of this stuff. No, none of that means anything to God. God is going to work on you for the amount of time he deems fit, and he's working on you even if you feel like you got it figured out. You have to stay faithful in this time frame, and you have to trust that God knows what he needs to do in your life. Excuse me. You have to trust that God is the architect of your life, and he is not going to make any mistakes. And as you go through life knowing that, it's going to give you so much more peace. So if you feel like you're behind, just know that God can accelerate your life, and you're not actually behind. God is using this time to prepare you for where he needs you to be. You just have to know that.